Hello everyone, I'm Alicia. For this tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to make a really neat multi-strand bracelet. What's really cool about this bracelet is you can use whatever beads you have in your stash. You don't have to use what I'm using. You can use all different shapes and sizes and colors. It's up to you. But something that you will definitely need is 8/0 seed beads and 11/0 seed beads to make the closure. So these here are the 8s, and for the loop I did the 11/0s. And this here is already finished and tied off. I will be showing you how to make this again, but the next time I make it I will be putting a button on this loop, and I will be making a smaller loop of seed beads. So this here is just a closure, and in between is where I put all my strands of beads. And like I said, you can use whatever beads you want. Now I am using beads from the Dollar Bead Box, and this is the project I'm doing with the Dollar Bead Box. I am actually using 8 different beads from the Dollar Bead Box. I'm going to go over all of them with you guys. But like I said, you don't have to have those. You will be needing 8/0 and 11/0 seed beads, and I don't really think the brand matters. You could just do whatever brand you got on hand. And yeah, this is a pretty cool bracelet. I think I might call this a stash buster bracelet, because you can pretty much use whatever beads you want for this bracelet. Okay, so I'm going to go over the list of materials. Here is the list of materials you will need to make a bracelet. I am using fireline. I'm using 8-pound, and I'm actually cutting 3 lengths for this. 2 feet will make this right here, so I am cutting 2 2-foot lengths of fireline to make my closure. So 2 feet for one side and 2 feet for my other side. And then in between the strands here, I'm not totally sure how much thread I will need for that. I'm thinking 6 feet, but I'm not totally sure. I'm going to start out with 6 feet and see how it goes, and you'll know by the end of the video if it's enough thread or not. Okay, so I'm also using a size 10 beading needle. And now I'm going to go over the beads that I'm using from the Dollar Bead Box. And again, you don't have to use these beads, but if you got the Dollar Bead Box and you want to make this bracelet using the beads, here's what I'm using out of the box. So I am using 8mm Czech hearts, the green ones that came in the box. They're really pretty. I'm also using 16mm Czech table cut square. I'm using the 6mm Czech druk beads, these right here. 6mm Czech bicone beads, that one right there. 3 by 6mm Czech gem cut rondelle beads. 4mm Czech glass druk, which is this one. 4mm Czech fire polish beads, that one there. And the 3mm Czech fire polish bead, that's the blue one. And remember, this is Dollar Bead Box and bag that I'm using materials from. And my own stuff, I'm using 8/0 seed beads right here, and 11/0 seed beads for the loop. Also, I'm using 11/0 seed beads in the stringing of this. And of course, you will need a button. And the button I'm using is from Walmart. It's a really cute button. It's actually a plastic button, has a metal coating on it. But buttons like this are actually pretty good quality, because they don't tarnish. Most of the time they don't tarnish. And this is the list of materials. And remember, I always put the list down there in the description bar. So like I said, you can use pretty much whatever beads you want for this, but the basic things you will need to make this is the 8/0 seed beads, 11/0 seed beads, and 8-pound fireline, and a needle, and a button, and then you could do whatever you want for the rest of the bracelet. Okay, so let's get started. I'm first going to start by showing you how to make this right here. This is done with brick stitch. I've done this before. In a previous video I showed you guys how to make earrings, but instead of doing seed beads for the brick stitch like it is traditionally done, I did it with Czech fire polish beads and druks, and it turned out pretty cool. So this here only takes 2 feet of thread to make. It's very simple, very easy to do. I'm going to start by picking up 2 8/0 seed beads. And I have a ruler here, and I'm going to measure out a 6-inch tail on my ruler. I'm not going to tie knots at the beginning of this, because they will be in the way of my my bracelet when I have to go back through here to add my bead strands. So right here is my 6-inch tail. I'm going to hold it right here at the 6 inches. Taking my needle, I'm going to pass back through these 2 beads. Okay. Just like that. Before I go any further, make sure it's at 6 inches. Okay, right there. So now you can see that this is what I have. I'm coming out here, I'm going to take my needle and pass back through this bead. So now both of my threads are coming out just like this. Pull it snug and they should stack side by side. So now I'm going to take this tail and use it to hold on to my work. Okay, I'm coming out here, I'm going to pass down through this bead and start adding more beads. Okay, I'm going to pick up an 8 and go down, back down through this bead. And then I'm going to go back up through that one. Pick up another 8. I have 3 right now. Take the needle and pass through the bead just like that. Pull it through. And then pass down to that bead just like that. Okay. Pull it snug. Make sure they are sitting side by side and not on top of each other. And now I'm going to add another 8. Just like this. Now, something I want to point out to you guys. I am going to have 7 strands of beads. 7 bead strands. Good grief. I cannot talk today. My first language is goo goo gaga. I swear. Okay. So, see how I have 5 right here? So if I wanted to, I could stop right here and have a 5-strand bracelet. But I'm actually going to have 7 strands in the bracelet that I'm working on. So I have to add 2 more beads to this. But if you don't want such a wide bracelet, because I think I should have measured this bracelet. I want to say, looking at the ruler, I want to say that it's probably about 1.5 inches wide. It's a pretty wide bracelet when you put all the bead strands on here in between the closure. So if you want, you could make a thinner bracelet that doesn't have as many strands by just starting out with 5 beads like this, and then you start doing the brick stitch right at this point. But I'm going to have mine 7 strands wide, so I have to pick up 2 more beads. So here's another 8 going through here, putting this bead on, passing back through the 8 again. I have 6 beads. I need 1 more. So yeah, there is a lot of possibilities with this. You could actually make this wider than my bracelet if you wanted to. Okay, so now I have 7 beads. This means that my bracelet will be 7 strands wide. And this bracelet's pretty neat. To me, when it's on, it kind of looks like, I already made it and took it apart, but when it's on, it looks like a stacking bracelet. Like I have several stacked bracelets on, but I don't. It's just one bracelet. Okay. So I'm going to take my needle and pick up 2 8/0s this time. I'm exiting out right here, and you see there's this thread right there. I'm going to skip over that thread, and I'm going to go through this next one. Just like that. Pull the needle through. Okay. And then my beads will stack. And I'm going to take my needle and pass through that one right there. And I have to pull this tight. Okay. And my beads will stack just like that. I'm going to do it again, but this time just 1 seed bead. Picking up 1, I'm going to come through the back side and go under the next thread. And then from the front side, I'm going to pass through that bead I just added. It's hard to hold on to because it's so tiny. Okay. I'll hold on to this side now. Okay, so now I'm picking up another 8, coming out here. I'm going to go under the next thread right here. And then I have to go up that bead that I just added. Pull the bead down, pick up a new one, going under the thread, going through the bead on the front side, pulling it tight, picking up one bead, coming through the back side, and then passing through the bead on the front side. Pull it tight. Now we should have 6 beads stacked on top of our 8. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now I'm going to flip this over because I like to work from right to left. I like to go like this and just make sure it's shaped all right before I get too carried away. Okay, do it again. We're starting a new row, so that means I have to pick up 2 beads. So I'm coming out here, I'm skipping over this one, and I'm going under the next thread. Okay, and then I have to pass up through that bead there, picking up another 8, going under the next thread, and then going through this bead on the front side, picking up another 8, going under the next thread, and then going back up through that bead. Pull that down, pick up another 8. Here I am. I have to go under this thread and then pass up through that 8 that I just added. And then pull everything tight. So now you can see that it's tapering down. Looks just like that one, almost. Okay, I'm going to flip it over again, and I'm going to do my 4th row. So I just put 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I started with 7, 6, 5. Now it's going to be 4, and then 3, and then 2. Picking up 2 because I'm starting a new row. Skipping that first thread that's right there. I'm going to go to this thread. Taking the needle, passing up through that bead. Picking up another 8, coming out of here. Going through the next thread. Fixing to come off my thread there. Okay. So I just put that bead on, and I have to pass through it. I have to add another bead. Right there's my thread. Go under there. Take the needle and pass up through that bead. So now I have 4 stacked on top of the 5. So now I'm going to do 3. So pick up 2 to start a new row. Skipping this first thread, I'm going to come under this one here, going up through this bead, picking up one bead, then going under. It's hard to look into the camera under this. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to go up through that bead there, pull that tight, pick up 2 beads, and then I'm going to go under. I'm skipping this thread, and I'm going to go under the next one, just like that. And then I have to go up through this one here, and there we go. We have our little pyramid thingy. Okay, so I already counted these beads. I am doing 10 for my button. You may have to adjust your amount of beads to work with your button, but I do believe I have 10. Yep, 10, 11 O's and my button, and you see how I have a big shank so they just move freely in there. You may have to adjust your beads to work with your button. If you're doing a glass button, you might have to do less beads. I don't know. You just have to see what works best for you. Okay? Coming out of this bead, I'm going to go down into the next one, right beside it. And then I have to reinforce this, so I'm going to sew back through that 8 and all the 11s again, and I reinforce this 3 to 4 times. Okay, so I'm going through here and then going back down, pull that tight. I'm gonna go back up again on this side, reinforcing this. And how many times did I go through there? I think I did 3. That looks good. Okay, so now I can actually come through and anchor more in here. So let's see, I'll go down through this bead, this bead. I'll go through this one, through this one here, I'm just anchoring these 2 beads here more to this because it's not really being held on that well. So through that 8 and then back down through this 8. Okay, looks good. So now I'm going to start tying knots, and I just tie knots right here. I tie 1/2 inch knots, one between these beads. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 knots, and then I weave my tail through. So go ahead and tie one with you guys. Take the needle, let's see. I'm trying to. Okay, right there. Come through right there. Make a little loop. Pass through it twice. Bring the knot down. Pass through this 8/0. Come through here now. Make a loop. Pass through it twice. It didn't take the first time, so I have to pass through it again. Okay. Pull that knot down. Pass through a bead. Tie another knot there, pass through a bead, tie another knot, and I come all the way out here, and then I don't tie any knots in here, in these beads at all. No knots in those beads at the edge. And then I just take this thread right here and I weave zigzagging up and down through those beads. And then I come over here and I do the same thing. I weave my thread up. I'll come up through this bead and then through this bead, and then I'll tie knots here going up this way. Or I can take this and weave up through here and then turn around and then come back down tying knots. There's different ways you could do it. Just go ahead, tie knots in this and reinforce it. And then I'll show you how to do the rest of the bracelet. It's pretty simple. So now I'm ready to string my beads, and I'm going to do an odd number of strands, and I'm going to have this focal bead here. So I'm going to start by doing my middle strand first. So this is a pattern that I like and I have set up here on my mat. And first I need to anchor my new 6-foot working thread into my closure end, and I'm hoping that 6 foot is going to be enough. I'm not going to tie this in. I'm just going to anchor it by passing it through a few times. If it is too short, I can easily just take all the beads off, you know, and get a longer piece. And I can reuse this thread. It doesn't go to waste. So, see right here? I need to be exiting out there, but I need to anchor my thread in place. So I think what I'm going to do is I will take my needle through this bead. Okay. I'm going to leave an 8-inch tail on this because I need to, you know, reinforce this. So 8 inches is about there, so I'll hold it in place. I'm going to take my needle, pass through one of these beads. Let's see, I'll go through this one. Okay. So right next to where I'm coming out of. And then I'm going to go back down through this bead where I'm going to start threading my strand of beads. Just like that. Okay, I'm now ready to start picking up my bead pattern. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a seed bead, this 6mm druk, seed bead, a heart, seed bead, a druk, seed bead, a heart, and I'm just going to repeat this pattern. And I have this here in the very center of my pattern, and I'm not sure how long this is. I will have to measure it, and you will have to do the same for you to get a perfect fit. But do keep in mind, because this bracelet that I am making is so wide, it's very wide. It's almost 2 inches wide, I think. You might want to make this a little bigger than you normally make your bracelets, just a little bit, because it might be snug. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going threading my beads, and I'll be back when I get them all on. So I kept going, and as you can see, I have all my beads on. I'm going to take my needle now, and I have to take my needle and go through the very center bead. So I have, again, 7 beads, so I have to find my center bead, go through there, pass my thread through, and then I'm going to go down one of the beads on the side. Does not matter which side, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to pull all of my thread through, just like that. Okay, and now I'm ready to start another strand, and I'm going to flip this over because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to start picking up more beads. And I think my pattern is I think I did 2 seed beads, a bicone, 2 seed beads, and again, these are all 11/0 seed beads that I'm using for the stringing part. Okay, 2 seed beads, a rondelle, 1 seed bead, 1 rondelle, 2 seed beads, and then it starts over again. with my bicone, just like that. Okay, again, 2 seed beads, a rondelle, a seed bead, a rondelle, 2 seed beads, and a bicone. Okay, so I'm going to be repeating this pattern all the way down the side until I get to here, and then I have to go back into this and I'll be back. So as you can see, I continued it through the whole length. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is take my needle, and I have to make it match this side, so I'm going to pass through this 8/0 right here, pull all my thread through. Okay, and then I have to take my needle and pass down through the next 8 and get ready to do another row. So I'll lay this back down and pull this through. Pull it snug, and again I gotta flip this over because I'm right-handed. Okay, for my third strand of beads, I'm going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, a fire polish, an 11/0, and then a druk, and then a seed bead, and a fire polish, an 11/0, and a druk. Just like this, I will be repeating this over and over till it is the same length as my other 2 strands. So I'm just going to keep going, and I'll come back and show you what to do when you get to the end. So I continued this pattern, and now I have to connect it to this side. So I have to go right through this bead right here next to that strand, come through there, and then I'm just going to sew down through the next 8/0. Okay. You might want to pull this strand that we just did snug and then pull the other one. Okay, now we are ready to do another strand. This is the outer edge strand. And this one, the pattern I did for this one is 3 11/0s and a 3mm Czech fire polish, 3 11/0s, 3mm Czech fire polish, 3 11/0s, and repeat. Just like this. Repeat this all the way for this side here. So I just finished stringing the 11/0s and the 3mm Czech fire polish beads, and now what I'm going to do is take my needle and pass through all of the 8/0s here on the side. Okay, just like that. Pass through all of those, and then to get over here, I'm just going to shoot down this side. Just like that. I keep getting stuck on my table. Okay, before I pull it tight though, down here I need to make sure that I pull this side snug before I pull that through there. Alright, now I have to flip this over, and I am going to do the same pattern I just did, but on this side. So I'm going to be working on the outer edge now, going in. So I'm going to do this pattern here again, and then when I get to the end, I'll show you what to do next. So keep on going. So I just finished doing this strand, and now I have to go through the very end right here to connect it. And then I'm gonna go out the hole next to that and start adding this color pattern again. Okay. Now I have to repeat this pattern again. And once I do that, I'll show you what to do next. So keep on going. So I just finished this row, and now I have to go in through this 8/0 next to the outside one. And it looks like I'm doing really good on my thread length. I think I have enough to get to the end. Okay, so you can see how this is looking. And remember, I have to do another row right in here. And I think I forgot to tell you guys, but you do want to count your beads. After you get that side set up, you will start counting your beads on this side, and you want to have the same amount on this side as you do on that side. You don't really want to eyeball it because it'll probably be off. Because with me, I was trying to eyeball it, and it was also I need to count them. So I just counted them to get them right. So right here, you can see this bead. We haven't gone through that one yet, so I'm going to take my needle through there, pull it through. Again, I want to lay this down to get the tension right. Okay, and if you look, with this color over here, I started with a bicone and then I ended with the rondelles. So this time I'm going to reverse it, and I'm going to, was it 2 seed beads? Yeah, it's 2. I'm going to do the bicone on this side, so then the rondelles will end over here. Make sense? So now I'm going to have to repeat this pattern, and I'll come back and I'll show you what to do next. So keep going and I'll be back. So I just picked up my very last row, and now I have to put them in. I'm going to pass my needle right here through that last 8/0, and then I'm gonna go through this 8/0 that's in the center where I started at, and I'm gonna pass through a few beads just like this. I'll come out right there at the heart, and I'm just gonna lay this down. And one thing I realized with this when I was designing it, you know that the length of each strand is good when you pick it up and it goes like this. They're all side by side. Sometimes when you lay it down, they might not be all side by side, but when you pick it up like this, see how they're all side by side? That's good, okay? It's pretty neat. So you can see how wide it is. It is a very wide bracelet. I'm going to measure it. From the center, it is 1.5 inches wide. Yeah, but it gets narrower. So down here it's like 1.25 inches. It's pretty cool. Okay, and I like that I could use the heart beads in here. I've been trying to think of things to do with heart beads, and I did them on a square stitch bracelet, and now I've used them in this bracelet. So I'm just going to tie my knots in here in front of the larger beads, not the seed beads. So I'll tie a knot in front of the heart, I'll tie one in front of the round, for the heart. So tie your knots in front of the big beads and pull the thread through. Keep going through here. I have enough thread that I can go through all of these beads again, and then I think that I will turn around up here and pass through these. I don't have to tie, I could tie several knots through here, but I don't have to tie knots in here when I come out here. I'm just using up my thread and passing through. You could tie a couple knots if you want. You don't have to tie many though. And then with this thread, it's coming out right here in the middle. So with this one, I would go the opposite direction. So if I'm coming out this one with this thread, with my working tail, actually, I wouldn't even trim it off. I would leave that thread sticking out, because then I would know when I go to do this one, which strand to go through. I don't want to go through the same strand 3 times. So I'll just leave that tail sticking out the first one, and then I'll come to this tail here. It's coming out this seed bead. I'll go down through this strand, and I'll tie knots in that one, as many as I can, and I'll go through the whole strand. So I like to do that sometimes. I try to remember, because if I don't know, you know, where my last thread path I tied off at, I'll leave the tail there, and then I'll go do my other one and tie knots in that one, and then I can go back and just tie and trim both of them off at the same time, so I don't pass through the same beads 3 times in a row. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so let's tie some knots. Knots are going to be just like before, half hitch knot. I'm just going to do it one time with you guys. So I'm going to tie a knot around this bead here, and I do need to make sure that this is pulled tight. The last one I did was this one. Okay, so I could see that it can be pulled loosely, so I'm just going to make a loop here and pass through the loop twice and bring that knot down. Okay, and then pass through my heart, my seed bead, and I will tie another knot in front of the round bead. So I'm just going to keep going, tying my knots just like I told you guys. So I just completed my bracelet. I tied it all off and it's all done and ready to be worn. And then I remembered something I did a while back where I made a necklace, and it was a multi-strand necklace, and I was just playing around with it, and I figured out how to braid it, and it was complete. So I'm going to show you how to braid this. So you can wear this bracelet 2 different ways. You can wear it braided, or you can wear it with the strands straight. So it's really easy to do. I'm going to separate this into 3 groups. So I'm going to do it like this, because this group here, or this strand of beads, is so chunky that it's kind of equal to, you know, a group of 3 strands. So I'm going to hold it like this. I have it held up here in my fingers, and I'm just going to start braiding, just like you would hair, okay? And as I'm braiding up here, I need to let the bottom flip, just pull it and let it go whatever direction it wants to go. And I think I'll just do it one more time. Okay. And then I'm going to stop. And let's see what it looks like. Now I can, if I don't like this, I could do it again. Let's see, I'm going to try to get this chunky bead to be in the middle, my focal bead. Okay, so there it is. That's what it looks like. I could braid it more if I wanted to. It's up to you how you want it to look. Just keep in mind, the more you braid it, the shorter it's going to get. So, for me, it's probably just right here. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I just wanted to show you guys that. So if you want, you could make this with seed beads in all of the same bead, like all 4mm pearls or something, and like 3 different colors, and then you can braid them. It's really cool. This is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, leave me a comment, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and like me on Facebook. And don't forget to share pictures of the jewelry we've made from my videos on my Facebook page, and follow me on Pinterest. Thanks for watching.